Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Whose Fault It Anyway. Today we've got a fast one, and I got to start with an apology to Jakiro. The YouTube comments are not going to be kind to you guys. Please, let's tone it down a little bit. I am gonna get the job done for us right here. We have stuff to talk about, Jakiro, buddy, pal. The good news is you're going to be a much better player after this because there are some things you need to never, ever, ever do again within the first minute or two of gameplay, and when you stop doing that, you're gonna find yourself doing much better. Every player begins the game with 600 gold, and it is very important to spend that wisely because the laning stage can determine the entire rest of the game. Please never ever build an Orb of Venom on Jakiro ever again until this item is reworked. In fact, on any ranged hero, I see it on Dazzles. Dazzle's a common offender in low ranked games. This 4% slow for 2 seconds is hot garbage. It is so bad. It is not worth 275 gold for this item. If you're thinking about buying this item again in the future, buy it, take it, drop it on the ground and break it, and notice your laning stage will be about the same as if you kept this item as a ranged hero. Now, obviously, a 4% slow will matter in some very niche cases, but it's just not worth it. 275 gold, half your starting gold invested into this item for those very rare situations. It is much better to buy almost anything else. Windlace, stick, more iron branches, circlet, mantle, 5 mangoes or whatever the cost is. Like, there's so many things you could buy instead that would be a lot more value than this. So please, never buy the Orb of Venom again. It's not even that good on melee heroes right now because Blood Grenade is so good. So it is just not worth it. Let's move on from there. Next, we need to be careful how we use our spells and our regen. I feel like you're not thinking about that enough based on what I saw at the start. When you see Dazzle walk down here, you have to ask, why is he down here? We should start every game by respecting the enemy team and assuming they are good players until they show that they make a lot of mistakes, and then we can say, okay, Dazzle's just here on his own because he keeps doing that. He's feeding all the time, so now I'm just going to kill him. Until we see that happen, you should assume the enemy players are making good decisions. So why is Dazzle walking down here at this time? If it's to ward or deward, he is super late, right? It should have happened way earlier, which might show he's a bad player. But a more reasonable thing to guess is that they're going for a first blood. It's very common in this meta right now that as the bounty runes get close, people walk in to go to try to fight. So even though we only saw Dazzle, I would assume there's other heroes nearby. So how safe do I feel about fighting that Dazzle? Sven isn't that close. Other heroes could be literally right here, which means if 3 heroes pop out, you'll never win that trade by the time help arrives. And even Sven's just 1 hero. Invoker is then over here. It's going to take a while for help to get here. So choosing to stick around a little bit and then even fight Dazzle is kind of sus, especially because Dazzle with Poison Touch is extremely good in these types of areas because Poison Touch has no end duration and in fact is infinitely scaling as long as he can attack you. So it is very dangerous to fight Dazzle here on your own. If you're near a tower, you get Poison Touched and then you run into the tower, he can stop attacking you. Then Poison Touch is actually not a big deal. But out here, there is a long time to run until you get to a tower or to help, and you're going to be slowed the whole time. So this is actually an extremely dangerous trade, especially when we consider the fact that I think other heroes are going to be nearby. Dual Breath, that's fine, actually. It's not a huge deal to use it here, although it is just on a Dazzle near the start of the game, which means he can regenerate his health, whereas your mana is going to be quite slow because he started with this Sage's Mask. You didn't start with anything like that, so your mana regen, very slow for how expensive your spell is. Again, I don't hate it. It's overall okay if I felt more confident about fighting here. But on my own, at a time where I think multiple heroes are going to show up like this, I don't really want to use the mana, I just want to run away. Then you use a Blood Grenade. I would definitely not do that because you will never kill Dazzle here on your own. It's going to take so long, and if you are going to get close, then wait till you get close before using the Blood Grenade. This is way too preemptive. Blood Grenade is a consumable aggressive, which means we have now thrown away 50 gold. You don't get the health from it. You don't get the aggressive potential from it later for something that has very low chance of succeeding here. Now, if you haven't been playing Dota that long, I don't know how much you've played, but then I understand, like, kills are hard to understand. Like, I don't know if I can kill this guy. In that case, go ahead and try. But as you play more Dota, you guys, you need to understand, like, slowly develop this understanding of, I can't kill him yet with this hero. Like, I need him to be lower, and then I can run down for a kill. That's when you use a Blood Grenade. Right here, a full health Dazzle starting right off the bat on my own as a support, it's almost never, ever going to work out, so I just wouldn't use the consumable yet. So we're now throwing that away. So now we're just going to have to run away. You can see that you're going to lose a lot of health. We want to avoid these unfavorable trades at the start of the game because it means we're just not going to be able to do much. Now, as running away, you dual breath, and guess what? You make it away. So that mistake, it wasn't great. We lost a lot of health. We used a lot of mana. Go home right now. If you show up at the lane like this, what can you do? You can't do anything. Literally, a couple auto attacks will kill you. So you have to go home. Otherwise, you're going to walk to the lane, you're going to die immediately, and then you're going to TP out. So you might as well go home right now and then come to the lane with full resources. And even though we took like kind of a bad trade, wasted our Blood Grenade, it's not the end of the world if you had a better item than Orb of Venom. But even with this, at least we can play the lane with full health, full mana. Choosing to tango is kind of pointless. If we're going to go home, there's no reason to use our regen, but it looks like you're going to walk down here. You could, but look how much health you're missing. You're going to have to use all of your tangos to not even be full health by the time you get to the lane, and you have enough mana for a single dual breath, and you don't have any mana regen because we have an Orb of Venom. So in terms of money, we threw away our Blood Grenade. We're going to eat 3 tangos to show up with not even full health, which you could have done by just not fighting Dazzle, and then you would keep your 3 tangos. And we have this Orb of Venom, which I'm saying is pretty garbage item. So essentially, out of 600 starting gold, before the game has really begun, before we've hit a single creep in the lane, you've wasted 400 of it. That's a lot. That is a lot of gold to not be using at the very start of a game. And because Invoker died, you kind of like change your mind. You're like, oh, I'll be in the mid lane. But you have to you have to get a feel of how long this walk time takes. He's gonna respawn. He's gonna teleport here. By the time you get here, I'll just show it actually. By the time you walk back up here, he respawns. He teleports in, and you're like, oh, I can't be here anymore. Now you're gonna teleport bottom. So before we had enough mana for a single spell cast. Now we've used 100 gold teleport scrolls. So if you want a new one, you're gonna have to spend the money. And you use 75 mana on it. So here we are, starting the laning stage late, and we have less than half our health. We have a singular tango left. We don't have enough mana to use a single spell right now, though we will in about like 5 or 10 seconds. This Orb of Venom is not going to do much. Iron Branches are great, actually. These are fine. This is okay. Our first item is going to be a stick, but Stick does not help your immediate regen needs. Stick takes time to develop, to get charges. These two, you're dealing with a Juggernaut for. The amount of spells coming out here is not going to be super high, so it's going to take you a while, right? If you do want to show up to lane right away for whatever reason, you have to buy things like mangoes and salves and more tangos because you need regen literally right now to do anything. Despite the fact that they have a Juggernaut 4 who is going to rush Morbid Mask as his first item, if you took this scenario and made all of these immortal players, I would consider this a losing lane already. You will not be able to do anything at the time when Jakiro is supposed to be really strong, level 1 through 3, because you simply have nothing at this point. Juggernaut is, a horrendous 4, but any normal 4 support, what could you possibly do against them? Any situation that comes up. You want to trade in the lane and they run at you, you lose because you have half your health and they can just run at you and you will die first before they die. You want to contest any camps, you will die before they do. Can we heal? Can we trade well? I mean, kind of. You can poke because it so happens to be double melee heroes, but Jakiro is pretty slow with short range, so they can run at you while you're doing your slow attack, and they can stun you, spin you, and then you're dead. There's very little you can do to contribute to this lane based on the decisions you made up to this point. Now, if this is just a one-off mistake, then it's not a huge deal, but in your comment, you and your friend did not recognize how big of an issue this was. If this happened in one of my games, I'd be like, I can never, ever, ever let this happen again if I want to get better at Dota. But you guys didn't even talk about it, you didn't even mention it, so I don't think you recognize the severity of this mistake, which is showing up to the lane without 400 gold worth of net worth. It's going to be a huge issue. Also stunning during the spin. I don't know. And where's your dual breath? That could be a jug kill right there. But that's not, again, not even the biggest issue that we're talking about here. The starting items and all that, the choice to like take a bunch of damage but not go home and heal and show up to the lane, those are much bigger problems that if you keep making those mistakes and not recognizing how severe those mistakes are, then every single lane you play is going to be far more difficult than it ever needs to be. Juggernaut 4, this should be an easy lane, but you guys lose this lane because you show up with no money, no gold, no resources, and that's just going to make your life difficult. Comment section, be nice. This is not the first time I have seen Orb of Venom on a range support, and it will not be the last, so he is not the only one making these mistakes, but hopefully he will not be one of the people making these mistakes anymore after this video. Guys, if you want to be roasted in a future video, please leave a comment with the information you see on the screen, and you might get picked for the next episode. Bye.